Hey guys, I'm going to jump right into the concept today that we're going to talk about because it's a little bit tricky, and so I want to make sure we have time to talk about it. Looking on page 279 of your grammar book, so please open up there, follow along. I'm going to go through some of the exercises with you. So it's a difficult concept, it's deep, meaning that there's a bunch of different pieces that go to it, but I'm trying to simplify it, and there's basically just 3 steps, and if you follow them, it won't be that difficult, okay? This page is talking about distinguishing dependent clauses. Again, that's page 279, distinguishing dependent clauses. And basically what that means is when you've got all these different types of clauses, what are they doing in the sentence? What's their function? Like as if you were to go find, okay, this is the subject, this is the verb, this is the direct object in the sentence. And we talked about adverb clauses, but if you remember, clauses can be noun, adjective, or adverb. And so how do we figure out which one is it doing in the sentence? It's pretty simple if we, just kind of take these steps with it, but let's just kind of jump into it. Some things that we need to remember as we're getting into it, and this is review. We've been talking about this for a number of weeks, but just kind of as a review, nouns come next to verbs, okay? The boy laughed happily, okay? The boy, what's it next to? What did he do? He laughed, okay? That's obviously a noun, okay? But a whole group of words can acting as a clause can be a noun, okay, but it'll come next to a verb. Adjectives will come next to nouns because they describe nouns, okay? Adjectives describe nouns and pronouns. Also, they'll have commas. Nouns do not have commas around them, but adjectives may have commas around them. So if you see a comma, you know it's going to be one of these 2 options right here. That leads to adverbs, which are they can kind of come next to anything in the sentence, so there's no specific thing that you have to look for there, but they are introduced by those subordinating conjunctions, okay? If you don't have this little card, pause the video and go find it or something. I'll make you a new one real quick. But they're introduced by these subordinating conjunctions, so they're usually the easiest to find because, it's those words. And they can have commas around them as well. So if you need to pause the video, write these things down, make these notes, you can do that. But now I'm going to go ahead and kind of move on to the next aspect that we need to remember. Since there's 3 types of things, but 2 things that they can introduce them, okay? We've got the relative pronouns and the subordinating conjunctions. Okay, I've got kind of 2 lists here. Now this is obviously not all the subordinating conjunctions. Okay, that's why you need your little chart. And I'm sure you've written these down somewhere. So maybe if you can go back and find those or go ahead and write these down on a card or something. But these are kind of some of the most used ones. Relatives will introduce nouns and adjectives. Nouns and adjectives, that's it. Subordinating conjunctions introduce adverbs. That's why it's so really easiest to find the adverb clauses, because if you see the word before, okay, you already know what it is. It's an adverb clause. If you see the word because, it can only be a subordinating conjunction, so it's acting like an adverb. It gets a little bit tricky because some words can double into the 2 different categories, like the word that, okay? That can be an adverb. That can introduce an adjective, and that can introduce a noun as well. So there are some that you do have to kind of step back and say, okay, what is it doing in the sentence? Which leads us to the 3 steps, okay? First step, I'll come to this side. Find the clause, okay? So you got to look in the sentence, find the introductory word, and just underline it. Some of these sentences in the first exercise, they've already found the clause for you. So first step is already done. That's great. Step 2, check the introductory word. As I was just explaining, if you see that it's the word who, I believe, who can't be a subordinating conjunction. Who is only a relative pronoun. Go ahead, check your little chart. Check your little list. So if you see the word who, you know it's got to be a noun or an adjective. Now then you do have to take a next step and say which one is it actually, a noun or an adjective. But that's why if you check the introductory word, check the word that introduces the clause, that could kind of take out and you can be done with it, okay? Especially if you know it's a subordinating conjunction. The third step is, after you've gone through and you've found the word, and again, let's say it's who, and you don't know if it's a noun or an adjective, say, what is it doing? And that's where we go back to that first explanation. Nouns come next to verbs and don't have commas. Adjectives come next to nouns and possibly will have a comma. Let's look in your book, okay? If you need to write these steps down, go ahead and do that. Just kind of refer to the board and some of these notes as we're looking in this exercise, okay? Exercise A, page 279. I'm going to probably go through these first 5 with you. Number 1 says, if God's people will faithfully obey him, he will bless them. Okay, so they found the clause for you. They've already italicized it. The first word, the introductory word, is the word if. Let's check it. Which list does it come up to? Give me a second. It is on your subordinating conjunctions list. Subordinating conjunctions only introduce adverbs. That's what it is. You don't have to go any further. If you know that the word if is a subordinating conjunction, you know that it's only an adverb. So you can go ahead and put that in the blank. Number 2 says, Minnesota, which is called the North Star State. I see one thing. I see this got commas around it, so that kind of gives me a tip. Okay, it's either an adjective or an adverb. They found the clause. Let's look at the introductory word. What's the first word that starts the clause? It's right after Minnesota. It's the word which. Now, you can go through your list of subordinating conjunctions and check, is it on there? The word which. It is not. It is on our relative pronoun list. That means it's got to be a noun or an adjective. But as we've already talked about, it has commas around it. And which of those is the only option that can have commas? It's the adjective. Okay? So number 2, put it in the blank. It's an adjective. 2 things, because it has the relative pronoun which, and it has commas surrounding it, making it an adjective. Number 3, the truth that patience can grow in adversity is taught in the first chapter of James. Okay, they found the clause. Check the word that. This is the trickiest word because it's in both categories, meaning it can be all 3 options. Here we got to go and actually find out, what is it doing? What is it next to? The truth that patience can grow in adversity. We can stop right there because it's next to the word truth. It also helps us because it doesn't have commas. And there's only one option that we can have that doesn't have commas. This one's actually a noun. It's actually like the appositive of the sentence. It's not describing it, it's renaming it. So if you remember what an appositive is, so you can put in the blank, meaning it's a noun. Number 4, the grand prize will be awarded to whoever enters the most creative competition. Found the clause. Check the word. Whoever. Okay? Whoever is not a subordinating conjunction. Go back and check your list. It's not technically on the list, but it relates to the word whoever, so it's kind of the same word. And it is beside a preposition. We don't have that kind of on our chart, but what comes next to prepositions? Objects, nouns. This would be a noun, adding like the object of the preposition, not an adjective. Okay, one more, number 5. He is a friend that you can count on. He is a friend that you can count on. We've got the word that again. Could be either one, but let's look at what is beside. Friend. It is beside a noun, is describing the friend, which friend, the friend you can count on. Looking at the options, noun, adjective, or adverb, it's an adjective describing friend because it comes after a noun and it's describing the friend. So that tells us what it is doing. If you look on the next page, you got just a few more. I want you to do the rest of those on the next page, following along this pattern, just working, finding, they've already found the clause for you, and then checking the introductory word and then asking yourself, what is it doing? Is it coming after a noun? Is it coming after a verb? Is it describing the verb? What is it doing? And just working at it from that way. Exercise B is a good exercise because you actually have to find the clause, okay? But you just use the introductory words, which you guys have been doing for the past couple of days, okay? So that should be the easiest part, really. Please comment on the thread. Let me know if you have questions, and I'll try to answer and simplify things as much as possible. One more thing, if you need to write down these last few notes, pause the video, do that. And I think this will really help you,